Welcome back to Shatter Our Souls with Novaria. Now, last time we booted up Need for Speed Most Wanted, we tackled the tollbooth time trials. Today, it's going to be somewhat similar and rather different because we are tackling the sprint-based races, which includes our well, I'm having a blank right now on what these guys are called. Speed trap. That's it. The speed trap races as well as standard sprint races. All point to point. Now, I did a little bit of digging on what Rockport is actually meant to represent. Apparently, Rockport is meant to be, well, three cities all kind of crammed into one. The first is the city of Seattle. Secondly is the city of Pittsburgh. And lastly, Portland. Which is kind of interesting in that it has a, shall we say, a coastline, but it's also surrounded by mountains, forests, has a deep industrial zone, but it also has more of like a suburban or upper class area closer to the Rosewood area. Just a little bit of a, I suppose, a tie-in for what we're looking at here. Now, oh, I actually hit the lights. I knocked the lights off the wall. That that's a good day. Now, the speed trap video, or well, races and videos in general, I always say they're kind of my bane. And I always kind of mention that it's because of the necessity of consistency, but also high-end performance at very specific spots. And all that is true. However, I feel like there's more to it than that. The AI in speed trap videos I find is actually much more robust than in a standard race. Simply due to the fact that in speed traps, I am very consistently being beaten in races. Whereas in a circuit or a standard sprint, it is a very rare occurrence for them to get close to beating me, let alone actually beating me to the end. This could be because I'm focusing too much on the specific segments right before the um, speed trap is taken, but it could also be simply because the AI is designed to be stronger for these races in order to make it more challenging and to force the player to focus in on the speed trap or on getting to the end the fastest, so to speak. That's my theory. Whether it's accurate or not, I'm not 100% sure on, but it's a theory nonetheless. Anywho, with the repainting of the old purple car, we're at heat level 1 for right now. So chances are the police cars are not going to cause any major concerns, at least for the first little bit. Pit maneuver. Kind of feel bad for them because the pit maneuvers really do a number on tier 1 cars and really do nothing on tier 5s. Oh well. Oh, it's a PC. Nice. I missed the lights this time. I really enjoy that jump in particular just because of what it is, and because you can catch some of the best air and best jumps in the entire game. Anywho, Last couple of turns here and then escape. I think I could manage that. Oh, come on, come on. Ding the Porsche. Using the Porsche to get a better turn and complete. I gotta say, I'm actually kind of surprised about that. And if you look to your right, we have the First National Bank. We're just gonna make sure that they have nothing to follow. And then take a speedy trip to the right. Yes, that is now the right. Into Camden Point, where there's a nice little hidden zone off to the north end. Shouldn't be too bad. Oh cool, he didn't follow the route I took. Perfect. Just hop in the cooldown, and we're starting the next race right away. Now, this race, if I recall, is gonna be a bit of a... I believe that this one was actually a little bit easier than the first race of the challenge for today. Simply due to a better layout and more wide roads comparatively to round one. Although I could be misremembering it. And straight through the bus station, because if you don't, you're doing it wrong. At least in my opinion. The bus station acts as a good little tie-in location that anybody who has played the game knows. At least in some capacity. Yeah, no, this is not the run, I don't think. I'm in last place overall. And yeah, no. So anyways, ignore my prior comment about this being the easier race. Looks like we're following an Aston Martin DB9. Very unique vehicle. What I like about a number of the cars in this is that they're all very recognizable from one another. I know I haven't really touched on it much as far as what the cars are for the majority of the games. But if you look at games like Need for Speed Carbon, the direct sequel to Most Wanted, you have kind of three major sets of vehicles. The muscle car set specifically struggles a little bit with presentation. While yes, the muscle cars have some that look a bit more sleek than others, like the '06 Dodge Challenger, as well as the whatchamacallit, the old Dodge or '05 Charger. These are standout cars among a very boxy build of muscle cars. With the Camaro, the Dodge Charger, the Dodge Challenger, and the Plymouth Hemi Cuda all having fairly similar designs. I'm stating it as fairly similar because that was the make and the model. That's how they were designed. But because each of these different cars had very similar builds, it became very difficult to differentiate them beyond just actually using them, especially when you're dealing with them at high speeds. Anywho, that is the last of the speed trap races. Now, good old-fashioned point-to-point. But comparing that to Need for Speed Most Wanted, which focus a little bit more heavily on exotic and tuner vehicles, with some notable presence of muscle cars in the form of, like, the Mustang, for example. The ones they picked were fairly recognizable by comparison to later games. Another really easy one to point out and poke at is Need for Speed, what is it? Need for Speed Pro Street. That's the word. Sorry, I'm a little spacey today. Need for Speed Pro Street had a lot of cars that fit or were very similar in nature. The Audi S3, the Audi S4. But then you also had the BMWs, or the two BMWs, one after another, that had very similar builds as well. And so, despite having a lot of unique vehicles, generally speaking, it was much of... There were some that struggled to differentiate themselves among the pack. The Lamborghini Murcielago and Gallardo being a pair that, at first glance, would be difficult to also differentiate from one another. My 2 cents on the matter. Whether or not you agree or disagree, leave a message in the comments. I'd love to see it. And, anywho, now that we are at blacklist number 6, challenging Ming, there are a couple major concerns that keep cropping up, and I'm sure you're noticing it throughout the videos now. I have done 3 races, and I have lost 3 separate times. Now, this is just I suppose, a repercussion of the game really ramping up and reaching the finale, so to speak. I'm dealing with numerous challenges that are coming up in the near future, which are going to test the limits of the Lexus far more than the game leading up to this point. Although my initial expectations, the Lexus was not going to be able to make it this far, so I am pleasantly surprised by that. There's still the lingering statement of this is going to be an uphill battle even from here on. Woohoo! Alright, 2 races left for today's video. Bam! Ooh, got some nice looking cars out there, including 2 of the Porsche Carrera GT. Now, the Porsche Carrera GT is, if I recall, the car with the highest acceleration in the game. It can reach its top speed easier than any other car. However, with that acceleration comes handling concerns. Effectively, it has a difficult time making it around turns consistently. It's also why my initial profile that actually got this far, when I did buy the Carrera GT, ended up biting me something terrible because I could not actually control the car after having bought it. But you win some, you lose some. Anyways, we have 1 racer ahead of us, Cameo. Will Cameo make a cameo in this video? I'm not sure. Looks like it was I think that's a Nissan? Kind of hard to tell from this angle. But a lot of the higher tier vehicles in the game end up being there because they are the best of all worlds, capable of handling any situation thrown at them, not just 1 or 2 oddballs. Oh yes, getting to go through the theater. Gotta love the speed breaker in this. being able to turn effectively, well, not on a dime, incredibly easily by comparison to some of the, well, earlier and later games. It makes it much easier to control in those tight spaces and easier to show off just how skilled a driver, in quotations, you as a player actually are. Note that I am absolutely nowhere near some of those drivers that have the VR setups. Those are absolutely absurd and beautiful and amazing and need to be treated as such. On the left we have the RX-7, and I'm not sure what the other two are. Hopefully we won't have to find out. Looks like a lot of sharp turns coming up. This could be a good thing for getting ahead of the pack early. And with Stickler in the back of the... Ooh, he really fell behind. As did Lepus, leaving one opponent left that's actually holding their own at the moment. Theoretically, as long as I can beat one guy, the race is over. Chopper, I'm not sure what they're driving, but he is holding up fairly well. We're gonna see if the police... Nope, not the police breaker. At least not that one. And, of course, the bus station. Gotta go through the windows. Again, gotta commend those guys for fixing the windows so quickly. Okay. Looks like we're hitting the main highway around Rosewood here, which happens to be one of the areas that I excel in simply because of all the hours of racing against the police for no apparent reason other than it was, you know, humorous. And we're gonna hit our top speed of 186 here, PDQ. I have a feeling that the top speed is going to cause issues with the upcoming milestone challenges, because I feel like it's going to reach that indefinite point where it is going to be impossible to reach the speed, or I have to hit the milestone at absolute peak performance for the car. That's my fear. My hope is that it will be okay, but questions are always going to be there. Shoot. Purple car chopper passed me. No. Restart. Oh, RX-7. Cool. So there are two RX-7s in this race. I think that's an Audi A3 or something. Not sure what the blue one is. Anywho, reset. Now, one of the people that I work with has been watching these videos over a last little while, and they mentioned to me that they didn't understand why I leave in my mistakes, the runs that don't go well. And to be honest, it's kind of a 50-50 statement. It's meant to show that there is growth over time, that the initial attempt does not define the overall results. But the other side of it is that if there wasn't anything showing the negatives or the downsides, players and viewers would just have to take my word on what I say about the vehicle without necessarily seeing what the outcome of a vehicle's deficits would be. And, let's face it, losing once or twice is aiming to also keep me humble, because I don't want to be one of those people who says that every game is easy. It's not. Never will be. There are some that are, there are some that aren't. This is one that gets more challenging over time. Anywho, we're nearing in on the end of the race, and as long as I don't take out the nearest taxi, I should be fine. I hope. Lepus is 2,000 feet behind. I think he's definitely toast. And we've hit raw max capacity for this car. I admit I do not like that sound as a sound, but it is really reassuring when you hit that point. Because it is a statement that you can't do any better. Until next time.